Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Energy Unleashed with Suzanne and Kim. After two blooper starts, we are ready to go, girl.
Forgot what this is called.
I'm not sure what is happening with our mouths today, but so far it hasn't been a
Yeah.
good thing. So maybe we can get through the rest of this without having to, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I have not told you a whole lot about this one, but this particular client, and I've already told you who the client is, and she's a vibe person, and really gifted herself and really does some really cool work. But she I worked with her last night and she was telling me all about this incredible family reunion slash family adventure trip that she did to Finland, Iceland, and Norway. And I know that you kind of saw it on Facebook a little bit and saw some of her photos. And I think the coolest photos of all were when she was all dressed up in the garb of like Game of Thrones. Did you see that?
Yeah. I thought
That
it sounded
was
looked like a fabulous trip.
Oh my God, she looked just like
Yeah.
lit. And you know what she told me about that, by the way? That actual photo shoot, they were the Game of Thrones costumes. The person that does that particular tourist gig is the one that actually crafted the real costumes for Game of Thrones. Because that's where they shot it, was in Iceland. And they got to wear literally some of the things that actual people wore on that show. And I'm like, that's so cool.
That is
So, because that
really
was
cool. I didn't know you could do that. That's fun.
it's so weird that I love that show being a healer and that I hate violence and I don't watch anything that's gross. And I totally was hooked on that disgustingly, horribly violent show and I loved every minute of it. It's so weird. But anyway, this particular gal is very Finnish, I'm just going to say, or she's very Finnish in terms of her heritage. And this was, I don't know if it was the very first time she went to all these places, but what she was doing was sort of a family reunion of sorts and meeting lots and lots of extended family for the first time in Finland. And
Mhm.
while she was there, she went down with some other relatives and met up with her daughter and did all kinds of really cool things in Iceland. And then they kind of, hit Norway along the way. Before I go any further, though, I believe you've been to Iceland. I have not. When did you go? Yeah, that's what I thought. When did you go?
It was November of 2019 before COVID.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
It was
Okay.
amazing. Yeah.
Right before COVID.
Mhm.
God, how can I not remember that? That's crazy. So what was your take on Iceland?
It's such an interesting place because it's a like a huge island, right? But there's like 127, I don't remember the exact number, but volcanoes on that island.
Oh,
And so
see,
it's a
I know
very,
nothing. I'm
yeah.
like totally ignorant.
But the land itself, I didn't realize this, but when you're in Ireland or Iceland, there's a place, and it's the divide between the northern continent and Europe. And so you're like
Yeah,
standing like right where they actually join underneath the ocean or whatever. They're
that's what she
together.
said. Like Eurasia on one side,
Yes.
and then like yeah, North America.
Yes,
And I'm
North
like, what?
America.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so all the
super
beautiful
weird.
waterfalls, we went into an amazing ice cave. But they're very geothermic, and so all of the pools are heated
Mhm.
pools, and they're so healing. Like I couldn't wait to go to the next one. Like we went pool to pool to pool on different
Oh,
tours
did ya?
and on
Okay.
our own, and it was like my whole body felt so good after going into that water. Um,
Does it feel like minerally? I
mhm.
don't even know if that's a word.
Well, it
N-
is because it's coming out of
Yeah.
the earth. And so it's
Right, but I mean, do you
minerals.
feel that churning through your body like the minerals? Do you feel that gug 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 gug?
I feel like my joints, everything, my skin, my joints, everything just you could just feel it penetrating and nourishing, I think, the body.
That's
For
so
me, that's what
cool.
it felt like. Yeah.
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 And I know there's one particular pool. She said there's so many and so many saunas and so many opportunities for all that stuff. But she said that one, and I don't remember the name of
The
it, where
Blue
it's the
Lagoon.
biggie,
The Blue
I
Lagoon.
think.
Yeah, because the
Um,
volcano that's been going off there is not that far away from the Blue Lagoon big pool.
that
Yeah.
reminds me of Brooke Shields. That's
No.
sad. Um, is that the one where you can go in and have all of the almost like a spa, like you can get
Yeah.
facials and the whole nine
Yeah,
yards?
so you're floating around in the pool and with a green mask on or whatever kind of mask, having a cocktail doing all the things.
Oh,
Just amazing.
oh,
Yeah.
that sounds good enough to just go for that. That's a
It's
riot.
it's really fun. Yeah. It
That's
was
very cool. That's very,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, and I've always had a kind of a thought to go there, but usually I wait for spirit to like really give me a nudge to go somewhere. And I think I'm getting a little bumped, but I'm not getting nudged yet. And I typically wait until the nudge. However, I do believe a lot of things are happening in Iceland and that whole area of the world. I think that there's a lot of activations going on. And I do believe that a lot of that volcanic activity is going to be really kicking up. I'm not saying Iceland per se, but I think volcanoes everywhere are going to be kicking up more because the ley lines are acting up and the portals are opening and everything's kind of happening all at once. And I feel like a lot of those places have really ancient information tucked inside of them that hopefully will start to blow out in terms of the whole population. So I think that would be a really cool trip. I want to bring you, however, to Finland. And I think what was so cool for her, and I think this happens for people sometimes, especially people with that I don't know, that background of Celt or Nordic or any of that stuff, because that's so ancient in our history of being human. And when you have that in your DNA, we all have some of it in our DNA because I believe that that's part of the alien, hybriding, et cetera, et cetera. But I think when you really, really have it in our biology, your family DNA, your lineage, I think you go to those places and you just light up like a keyboard. I mean, you just light up. And I don't know if you did that in Iceland. Did you feel like you lit up or did you just feel like it was super cool and you're having fun?
Uh, I felt spiritual things for sure.
Okay.
I definitely I didn't feel like it was where I was from
Okay.
necessarily because I think my DNA is more Eastern European on the mainland. But there were times when I would see things and I'm like, wow, like looking down, there was one of the waterfalls looking down at the walls of the river that the waterfall was coming down from. And they were ancient wisdom, like looking people and creatures. Like, and some of them were holding chalices and some of them were holding, and I'm with my friend and she's like, I don't see what you're seeing. I'm like, are you kidding me? These are like ancient wisdom right in the wall right there. And I could see it even when I took
So
a
they were in the
picture.
rock, not the water. They were in the
They're not real
rock.
people, but yeah, they're in the rock.
Right.
And you could
Okay.
see
Okay.
like uh I don't know what to describe it as, but it just knew that they had been there for so long and or were part of something that happened there. And they were
hmm
like gatekeepers, I felt like, kind of
So
um
they're the deva within the rock. It's not a petroglyph. It's not a hieroglyph. It's an actual, like when you look at a tree, you can find the green man face in the tree,
mhm.
right? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Because she was saying the same thing that the waterfall itself, the waterfalls that she did that in, she said were so incredibly powerful. And she has a lot of water elements to her too, as do you.
Mhm.
And again, that's not my jam as much. I'm that fire and air thing, but I think that anybody that has any ounce of opening would probably be able to tap into that there and find that Davic element, especially in the water, because I think the water is ramping up like crazy right now. And that's why I feel a lot of those places are coming back online. And if anybody ever has an opportunity to work with waterfalls, especially right now, I think that that's critical.
Mhm.
So that was one of the things she also said. So she is a huge whale person, as are you. And she had her videos of the whales, and she
Yeah.
was literally crying, watching these things. And they were in this little, like, they were just in this little floaty boat thing. I thought you were like on some big, big boat where like felt safe. And I said, God, what if that big thing came up and under? You just go flying. But she said it was awesome because you're right on the water and you're right at eye level. And she said the whale activity, like you often have said, just absolutely is beyond words. What does that connection do to your body when you connect? Because oftentimes you're doing it more so in obviously Hawaii because you go there all the time. Did you do whale in Iceland?
Yes, we did. And we suited up. It was November, so it was super cold. And again, in November, there's only
Oh,
like I think 5 or 6 hours of light when you're there because it's so far north.
right.
Um, but we
Yeah.
did go out and we saw it was I think it was like a blue whale, maybe. It was a different kind of whale.
That's what
Um,
she said, blue.
yeah, and they were already migrating out of there, so it was there wasn't a plethora of them because it was the wrong time
Okay.
of year. But the whales up there are definitely uh, there's different kinds actually of whales up there. And my connection with the whales is very spiritual. It's like my spirit animal.
Yeah.
I have whales in my dreams. I have whales, I see a whale eye a lot, like the wisdom eye. And
Hmm.
and so when I'm on the water and I can see whales, I'm just like euphoric. Like it's you can't, I mean, my friends that were with me are like, you're such a dork, like so excited. I'm actually talking to them, in my head. I'm trying to telepathically communicate with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal for me when I'm around whales. Yeah.
I think her also. So, do you feel that there is a different frequency of the whale in Iceland versus in Florida? And if so, what is that?
Oh, in Hawaii.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry, Hawaii. Yeah.
yes, I let's see, the frequency would have been it was more subdued in Iceland because there weren't as many, I think for me. Like when I go to Hawaii,
Okay.
there's so many, but also Hawaii is where they birth the whales, so I feel the baby, like there's different frequencies within the moms, males and the babies. And
Ah,
so I feel a lot more there because there's just an abundance, more of an abundance of them. The blue whale for me was a new experience, and it connected with my heart space for sure. But again,
okay.
it wasn't as overwhelming or as encompassing as being in Hawaii because there just weren't as many, I think, as
Do
part of
you
it.
have any feel that maybe one is more Lemurian and one is more Atlantean, or do you think that they're both Lemurian?
Hawaii to me feels Lemurian, um, all over. The whales, the
Yep.
island, all of it for me is more Lemurian. Iceland to me, gosh, I guess I never equated it, like I didn't think about would it be more, I think it's more crystalline. All the ice caves, all of the
Okay.
minerals, all of the things which would be more Atlantean to me, probably.
Okay.
I don't
Just
know.
curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's a thing either, but I do know that many, many folks, including yourself, are automatic to say that Hawaii feels Lemurian, which is what I get also without even being there. Atlantean in Iceland, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been there. I haven't thought about it. I was just kind of curious to throw it out there to see what you thought. So,
I feel the rock, the land in Iceland is very powerful. It's very um because it just seems so active. And part of that is because I think there's so many volcanoes on that, like there's inner
right.
earth activity. And in Iceland they do ferry tours and different things. Like there's the 2D world, I think is very active there. And I would see things out of the
Yeah.
corner of my eye, be like, what was that? Kind of a
Yeah.
um but it's also a very pure island in that one of the things I thought was interesting is the horses that they brought over, I think from Norway or Finland. They've never interbred. They're the same DNA, same horse, um,
Hmm.
because there's never been another type of breed on that island. So all the
Wow.
horses are from the same DNA pool. They're not intermixed to breed different kinds of horses. And they're a very
Interesting.
stocky kind of smaller horse. And so it also feels like the people there are very, they're very family oriented and that they have a lot of lineage that has been on that island too.
Right.
The people that we talk to anyway,
Do
not a,
those horses remind you of the ones in Peru? Because the Peruvian horses are so odd too. They're very
yeah,
stocky and
they're,
short.
yeah, they're similar, but except for they have this beautiful mane
Yeah,
and
of course they
tail
do, like the
and their
Nordic
hair,
mane.
like their fuller hair, like
Yeah,
it was November too, so they were getting really fluffy, like they just
yeah.
were getting their winter hair, I guess.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Awesome.
I just thought it was a cool thing that they didn't mess with that. They don't allow it. You cannot
Yeah, I
bring
think that's, yeah.
another breed to the island. So, and it's
God
very,
forbid
um,
protect natural resources.
yeah, right. But I could see like the Vikings is a big deal, on that
Mhm.
island. And that it's a very, when you think about the Vikings, how strong and, dedicated and just sticking with things they had to be to live there because it's
That's
not
why
an
it feels more
environment.
male to me. That, yeah, that whole thing feels more male.
Mhm.
Even it's funny because even the volcanic, um, frequency feels female in Hawaii and male in Iceland to me. But again, I haven't been to either
Well,
one, but that's just what I get telepathically.
I agree with you, but the only thing that made me feel more of the female was going into we crawled into a hole like this big to get into an ice cave. It was
Nope.
so crazy. So
Nope.
crazy. And
I'd be the one waiting on the outside going, good job.
I have a picture of my friend's boots going through the hole and all you
Oh
see is
no.
the bottom of the boots or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, but it was that was one of my most spiritual experiences because that cave had not been, it's not really overutilized compared to other caves.
Okay.
Probably. So the signature of that cave was very pure to me and it was very feminine and it felt very like I just seemed like some of the ice molds look like women and children to me. I don't know.
Hmm.
It was very feminine. So
Interesting. I
yeah.
think caves
Anyways,
usually are. So yeah, very
yeah,
birth oriented.
Mother Earth. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Mhm.
So you mentioned the 2D and the elemental kingdom, and in this case, this particular gal is very versed in the fairy energy. She can do angel energy as well, but the fairy energy and the mermaid or the aquatics are very popular for her too. But what happened for her there, and I think you were alluding to, is it's not fairy as much as it's troll
Rules.
energy. Yeah, and I think that that's so funny because when I was actually working on her, this incredibly perfect, of course, perfect troll face came in. So troll energy to me cracks me up because I've worked with it before several times. When I was in Ireland, it wasn't quite troll, but it's sort of troll. It's not the cute little fairies that you think of like Tinkerbell. They can have kind of stinker fairies there, they're kind of little stinkers and do some stuff. It's merging into a troll, but this, she said, was very troll-like. And she said in one particular setting, they were sitting in a hot tub. And she said, I swear to God, I felt like they were just all around the whole entire hot tub. And she's like you, where she's going, okay, guys, great, great, awesome. I can feel you all. Then show yourselves, show yourselves. And so
Yeah.
she's talking to them like you talk to the whales. And she's talking and talking, saying, I know you're here. I can feel you. I know your eyes are on me everywhere. Just show me, show me. And of course they didn't. And she's like, damn it. So,
That would have been
I think that that's
but can you imagine if you all of a sudden saw all of them all the way around the tub? Like, holy,
right. I think, yeah, you might like dive underneath and like the same thing I do if I walked in my basement and really did see the galactic sitting here waiting for me. I think wet my pants and run out. But I think this is something that is really coming forward in these places because of the activation of the land. I think this is something that the people that are awakening are bringing to the land. And so what I was telling her is when I was working on her, it was so interesting because her auric field now, this gal does a lot of work on herself and she does work on others as well, and she's great with animals and plants and etc. And her it was so interesting because when I scanned her to do the work, I'm looking at her and I'm like, I think this is about integration for you. I have a feeling you did tons of downloads. And she said, I believe I was downloading. So for those that are listening and might not know, a download is simply an information dump. It comes from whatever realm other than yourself and what you're in presently. It might come from that fairy or troll realm. It might come from the cosmic realm or the ethers. And it basically is like dumping on your computer a whole bunch of files from a flash drive. And oftentimes it will feel like a rush. Maybe you've got the goosebumps thing. Maybe you've got a head dizziness or a pounding or piercing ear sounds. All kinds of things can happen. A lot of times, this particular person is starting to download when the hands start moving, which is what I do a lot too. When I download, I shake because it's circuitry. So she said definitely I had downloaded a lot. And I think my job as the healer was to integrate these downloads. So super interesting in that when I looked at her field, it looked much like the inner earth has so many layers and layers. So we've got this core and that mantle and this gas and this whatever. And her auric field, it was so interesting. I hadn't seen this before, was just field after field, layer after layer after layer of downloading. But everything was so separate that she wasn't integrated and she wasn't in the body. She was very grounded because this place made her feel grounded because it was heritage for her, But from the heart chakra up, it was super heavy. And the heart chakra was really, really, really heavy. And this is a pretty heartfelt person. And I was surprised at how heavy the heart was. So think about it pouring in like this. It was just pouring in her crown chakra and all of the spiritual centers, one, two, and three, right? These are all pouring in. And then that heart's like, whoa. And it's really a lot of work to integrate through that heart chakra sometimes. And we oftentimes need help, right? And so she was trying to figure out why she had this really heaviness in her heart. And I was asking her before I went in and did the work, are you holding protection here? And she said, oh, hell yeah, I was doing a lot of protecting there and I was bubbling a lot because that was all new. And yet I was meeting all these beautiful family and extended family and, lots and lots and lots of new people. And she said I was super open to it. So it was really difficult to move all that energy through there, because it was kind of clashing. So when I got in there and just did a full merge integration, it's kind of like the days of old corporate days when you'd have, I said this before, when you have a mass mailing list and you do what's called a merge purge, and you purge and merge different names that are similar, addresses that are similar, so that you get a clean list. That's kind of how I do that. I merge and I purge and I pull what's important, and then I integrate and I pull and integrate and pull and integrate and ground. And it was super interesting because that shifted very easily and she could feel it all going on, which I thought was super cool too. So she knew that was finally landing the plane. Now, a download doesn't mean that you get the information immediately. It doesn't even mean that she gets it just because I integrated it. Oftentimes for me, I get the download and then I sometimes get it immediately, but lots of times I'll do retrospect. It's like, oh crap, that finally makes sense, blah, 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 blah. And it might be a week later, it might be a year later. So what does that feel like for you when you're getting those?
Gosh, it's I want to go back to the whole idea that being meeting all these people and being around all the people, very similarly, I've just been through that and it is really difficult
Yeah,
when you're
you
around all
did.
those
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
to one, you're protecting yourself, but at the same time, it's all this energy that you're um constantly discerning, and it's
Yep.
exhausting. It's really
Yeah.
exhausting around, for me, at least around all those people. And so when I feel like there's a download, and we've been together when there have been,
Yep.
downloads, um, it doesn't always, like you said, happen. You don't understand what it is. It's not
Mhm.
obvious to me. And sometimes it's like a brick over the head obvious. Like, yep, this
Mhm.
is we're giving you this information, we're giving you this wisdom, and you need to, it's like do something with it now, you know,
Right.
whatever that is. I
So
kind
they're
of
all different.
this
All
weekend,
different.
this
Yeah.
last
But
weekend,
you did it this weekend?
this last weekend on the dock, I was out
Oh,
there and I know that there were so many different faces, and the message was, one, we're giving you some information, and it was just so colorful and like fuchsia, and all these colors were just exploding. And then there was like a white, kind of a white light coming in, and um but at the same time I was experiencing all these different types of faces, and different, like, green man came through and an angel came through, and it was like, we are here for you, take this in, and just accept
right.
it and let go of the block. You're blocking things, like get rid of the blocks, whatever they are.
Right.
Not that I knew exactly what the blocks were, but it's get rid of the, release. And I could feel the release of some of that. Very heavy
Right.
in my root chakra, lower body. I felt lighter after I went through that experience. Um,
Nice.
yeah. So, but I don't always, I dream, and sometimes I'm like, I know that was a download, but I have no idea why. I can't remember, from during sleep or
Yep.
whatever that was. But then something will trigger wait a minute, that's like a deja vu weird thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Because
mean?
now I know something. Yeah, that
Mhm.
I didn't know before. Yeah.
Right.
So when
Right.
you
Right.
were doing your meditating, I was on my porch having a cup of coffee on the deck, and I'm with my sister, and I nudge my sister, and I go, look at Kim. I go, look at Kim. She's two cabins down, and I can see her pretty clearly. And I go, look at Kim. And I go, she is so gone. Because
I
you
was
were just, I was scanning you, and you were just gone. That
gone.
was so funny.
It was
Yeah.
so incredible. Like, just,
Yeah.
and I know, and then you you yelled a few dogs down, are you back yet?
Yeah. It's just so funny to watch somebody from afar like that. That was great. Yeah. So this particular integration was super, super cool. But then what I found was really interesting is I'm going through her matrix with this integration and these layers, right? And it was so interesting. I've never seen this before. And this is another reason why I wanted to bring this on the podcast was so when we're working with the matrix in the earth itself, it looks like ley lines look like a graph, right? They look like a graph. And oftentimes when someone who is more spiritually awakened goes to these kinds of places, we are asked to go to these places because we're either bringing information or taking back information or doing both. It's an information and knowledge exchange, okay? So when I was working on her field, I was seeing her actual circuitry connecting and connecting. And then I could see, oh, because when she went to Finland, she bawled her eyes out when she was landing. She said, I'm home. She said, I feel like I'm home. And obviously, it's not her home, her technically. And she said, when I got there, I felt like I had been there a million times. This is all that past life cellular memory. And she was super, super like so amazed at how she felt. And then, of course, she meets extended family that really is lineage and heritage and all of that. And now what was happening is when I'm working on her, I'm going through her circuitry of what she was. Well, let me back up. When you get a download, sometimes it's coming from the earth or the cosmos. In her case, it's coming upward from the earth and going into her field. Download makes you think it's always coming from here, but it doesn't. In her case, it was coming up out of the earth and loading her up. Okay. And so the ley lines were activating and learning and sending information just by her body being there. And this is something that's very common with people that are spiritually awakening because they get the call to go somewhere, and that's what you're doing. You're moving information. So as I'm integrating, I'm watching, I'm also integrating the matrix and the circuitry and the ley line on the earth at the same time. And then they gave me a shot of, I'm going to use my hands, of her and maybe one of her relatives. And the two heart chakras had a complete line going in between them. And
Wow.
it looked like a ley line of love in between the two people besides. So everything was lining up like graphing all upon layer upon layer upon layer as well. It was really crazy. I've never seen such circuitry go through heart chakras as a weave as I was seeing her. So even though she's laying on my table in real time, I'm back in the time when she's there, 2 weeks ago or three, doing the circuitry weave through the heart chakras of her actual biology family. It was crazy cool. And that was completely aligning with the circuitry underneath the earth and the ley lines.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I've got a question though. So if just was that like one person or was it her whole lineage that she was connecting
It,
to?
it was several, but it wasn't like one person. They showed me one, and oftentimes what I get is symbolism when I do my work. And so they had one and one in the heart chakra. And then it was like what I get when I do circuitry is they show me, dit, 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 meaning this keeps going and going and going and going. So they didn't show me, like 25 relatives and it was all doing it. But that's my download as the healer that says this is an activation between heart chakras as well. And again, this is why her download stopped at the heart chakra because it was on overload. And
Oh,
this is why it's important for people to hear that if you go to a place that is really cellularly, that's such a hard word to
it
say
is a
sometimes,
hard.
cellularly home for you, like especially in the UK right now, if you are going to a place that is becoming extremely active in portals and ley lines, and you bring your physical form to that, you will most likely need some help in integration because our bodies are still doing their best to move things through our heart chakra because our heart chakras have been so controlled and programmed and limited and scared and everything else under the sun. And now they're getting this plethora of love, this over tsunami whelming, of love, and we don't know how to integrate it. And oftentimes we'll come back from a vacation like that, overwhelmed and tired, and we think, gosh, I'm tired, gosh, I'm tired. Well, you're actually also tired because you're exhausted energetically because it hasn't moved into your actual lower half of your physical form. And yet I was super proud of her because she was diligent about grounding, 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 grounding there because she knows she can just, fly out and get herself in trouble if she's not
Right,
grounded. So
right.
if you don't even have that skill set, then you're double in trouble.
Right.
you know?
She's more cosmic. Like when I know who you're talking about, right? Isn't she more on the cosmic energy? I mean, she's
No, actually,
both.
she's very much water, 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 water,
Okay.
water, and fairies, 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 fairies.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially out on her place where she owns horses and such, and she'll take her little granddaughter out there, and everything's
Oh
fairies, fairies,
yeah.
fairies.
Oh, that makes total
Yeah,
sense. Okay.
yeah.
Now is it is there a connection? Like she is, I would assume there's still work happening, but is this connecting like from here now through ley lines all the way across the ocean to her family, or was it just in that ley line area that she was in?
As far as I was getting in the scan and in the work I did, it was completely staying with the new relatives that she met. It was
Okay.
activating the new relationships. It didn't go any further. She did have a lot of her immediate family in the area. I don't think that they were all with her per se at that particular reunion. But I think, once you're in that vicinity, I think that that can jump around pretty. I mean, energy can go anywhere. It's not a thing, but I didn't see that
Okay.
doing the work.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
curious because in
Yeah.
our last podcast we were talking about ley lines again
Yep.
across North America. So
Yep.
like, I wonder if there's a
And
connection
again,
there
how
on
funny, Kim,
purpose.
we're doing whales and whales and whales and whales. I mean, this stuff is crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they are the owners or the source of the Akashic records, right? Like their energy is, and their wisdom that they hold is just really important for all of us.
Well, and I think they've been so completely controlled by sonar, nefarious activity and cutting off, like we said in the last podcast. And if you didn't listen to that, I really encourage you, if you're interested in this, to go listen to that one because when we were talking about connecting British Columbia to Scotland to Nova Scotia, it was insane. I mean, it was crazy, crazy. And by the way, that client keeps sending me live feeds of the whales that are going bonkers now. They're
Oh,
going bonkers over there. And they're all so excited. Not that I'm taking credit for saving the whale population, but I think it is important to know that once that whale activity line and communication portal was opened, that's their job, is to
yeah.
be sending that information, and they couldn't for so long.
Mhm.
So who's to say what's happening in these places like Ireland, etc. But I think part of the reason, and I was talking with the client, is part of the reason these whales are coming online is I believe there's a lot of disclosure happening underneath the water that we're not privy to. I
Mhm.
think that there's a lot of cleanup happening. And I think there's going to be some really big surprises. I don't know in how many years, if ever. Hopefully, it will be sooner that rather than later, to show us what has been happening underneath the water. That we think that there isn't a whole lot happening, and that's ridiculous. There is a lot going on, and I think a lot of that is going to be coming forward in a pretty short amount of time, because the dark agenda is closing down and down and down and down underneath the water. But that was like free reign for so long. So
And when you say under the water, you're talking about like more inner earth, or are you really at the, I mean, there's all kinds of things because I know that there are places
I'm
they can go
I'm
in the water,
yeah,
but
I'm talking in the water and underneath the water of our actual planetary system versus the inner Earth action. That's a whole nother layer level, way,
okay,
way, way inside. And again, some people are going to Shasta. A lot of people are going to Shasta for Lionsgate, which I think is
they are.
interesting.
Mhm.
And I encourage anybody going to Shasta at any time to scan that mountain, because there's so much inner Earth activity there, but there's also a ton of government stuff. You can feel the government side of the mountain, and it makes me kind of vomit, but there's a lot of cosmic activity, a lot of ship activity. I think these are all waking up. Shasta's always been awake, I think. I don't think that's been closed too bad. But I believe that in the larger oceans, and then we were kind of chatting, I think last time when we finished our podcast on the Scotland, BC, Nova Scotia connection, that we were saying how funny it is that we live in Minnesota with 10,000 lakes, and that I think that these lakes are part of the system. And I think there's a lot of lakes, including our huge ones, Superior and more, that there's activity that comes out of these lakes. And we're just not, privy to that. And maybe we will be soon, because this is a very wanted state for a lot of different reasons, natural resource wise. And I think the water is going to start stepping up as one of them. I think it's already always been used, but I think we're going to start to see some really, it feels to me like some things are going to start really popping. So,
Mm. Gosh, I don't know because it could be good or bad. I don't know. I
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy.
So we're
Mm.
gonna have to hang out on our little tiny lake, although one spaceship would fill our whole lake. So we're
Oh my
kind of on a
gosh.
pond.
Speaking of water, it's raining pretty hard right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, it was just super cool. I thought that I would give you that one because I know that you're such a whale person, and I know for sure that you felt the trolls, and they are adorable. But
Yeah.
the trolls are kind of crabby, and they're not nasty, they're not mean, they're just kind of glum. And it's important for us to give trolls love as well to upgrade their frequencies so that they can maybe be a little bit more, not that we want to turn them into a fairy, but they need some loving too. And I thought it was really cute to be able to watch that frequency through her and see what that's all about over there. So it was fun. It was
Oh
cool.
my gosh, what a great client experience. That's a
Yeah.
really good, yeah. And she's an awesome person, so that's really fun to
Yeah.
hear
And
about.
she had a great time. So,
Mhm.
all right. Well, cool. Maybe leave a comment. Let us know if you have had some maybe troll or fairy activity. Hopefully that you share this if you would like to somebody that may want to learn from our channel. Hit the subscribe button. That really helps us out. And maybe leave a comment because I love to hear the chatter that's starting to finally happen. We're so excited. So thank you for listening. Until next time, Cosmic Hugs.
Goodbye.